podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
Between the time when wargamers played with chainmail and the rise of the Wizards of the Coast, there was an age of gamers. And unto this, Gygax, destined to bear the crown jewel of TSR upon a troubled brow, to show you all how to roll for initiative.
Issue number 74 of the Roll for Initiative podcast. I am DM Vince, sitting alongside of, well, not really, but theoretically sitting alongside DM Matt.
Hello, everyone.
And the old DM Nick.
Hey, everybody.
And DM Will.
Ancient DM Will. What's up?
Ancient DM Will? All right, fine. Ancient DM Will. So, Will, what have you been up to? I saw you were putting up pictures of your man cave on the website there.
Oh, yeah, I just put that up yesterday, as a matter of fact, because I said, someone asked me, well, like, what do you have in your little man cave? So I just wanted to post a real quick picture because I'm getting this house, fixing it up and getting this place to be like a gamer heaven here. But no, nothing else besides that. Ran my first edition game again this week and ran around to some half-price bookstores to buy some more of the old school stuff. And as a matter of fact, yesterday I did a bunch of board games at the gaming store. So constantly contributing to the gaming society as it comes along.
Sounds good to me.
Did you like all the miniatures I had?
Yeah, I was looking at that. You packed a lot of miniatures on.
Where is that in the forums? I haven't seen.
I think I put that. I think it's titled Man Cave and Lady Caves.
Yeah, if you go to OSR Gaming and it's under General Chat, I believe. And
okay.
Yeah, I bought all those miniatures I bought in the last 2 weeks and everything, and these all I intend on painting here real soon once I get everything else done. I mean, you'll see a little bit of BattleTech up there. There was some Pathfinder and a lot of the Reaper miniatures for the first edition stuff that I'm going to be running.
Yeah, Semper Fi, representing the U.S. Marine Corps there.
Oh, I forgot all about that. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's my man cave. I got to have a little bit of history in here. You see my little pirate stuff all over the place, and you'll see some Warhammer fantasy stuff everywhere. I didn't take a picture of the other corner, though, where the computer's at.
And you get your little doggy in there running around.
Oh, yeah, she snuck up on me. I wasn't even paying attention. I was paying attention to the little red dot in the camera, and I just didn't see her in there, and I said, wow.
Yeah, I got to take pictures of my loft where my man cave is, so we can put it up there, too.
Yeah, I like to see that. I like seeing that stuff. I like to see other people's man caves or lady caves.
Yeah, I'll have to take a picture of my bedroom. It's like a mixture of an office / bedroom / gaming cave. It's ridiculous how much crap I have piled into such a small room.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, Matt, give you a chance to plug the diehard gaming group.
Oh, yes. Over at diehardgamefan.com, we're hiring. We need reviewers for video games and tabletop stuff. So if you want to write, I'll put a link in the show notes to the actual post saying what we're looking for and what we'd like for your application, because we get so much stuff. We need writers bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because Vince is on board, and I know Will put in an application. So, yeah, at this rate, it seems like we're going to have a good chunk of the OSR gaming forums represented over there. So, come on board. We need more.
Will was accepted. Cool. Good for him. So Will will be joining us now too in the writing. I just posted up my preview, so what's his name, Luke Hard can look at it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because they do.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, because they do. Nothing goes up over the weekend since the hits are low during the week. It'll be like Monday through Fridays when stuff gets reviewed and posted. So.
Yeah, I think I'll be doing a lot of the BattleTech stuff because I play a lot of BattleTech, and I got a nice group down here at the gaming store that plays BattleTech. And then we got the Pathfinder stuff. As a matter of fact, I guess most of it comes from the independent companies.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to that because there's some really good independent companies out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's because we want to – anything we get a review copy of, we want to cover. Because there's just so much out there, and every game deserves the publicity, and it doesn't have to be just from like Wizards of the Coast or Pazio to get coverage. Everything deserves to be covered, so that's why we're looking to hire, because there's just so much content out there. It just is quality, but gets overlooked because it's not from like a name publisher.
And I just want to say that he doesn't request that you write like a 10,000 word article. Whatever you can write to help promote the item
Right.
is what he's looking for.
Right. It's all about the quality of the review. It's not about quantity. There's no word minimums. It's the video game section is different. There's actually a format that's followed for that. Whereas the tabletop RPG section is actually just free form. You review it and just put in a quality review, and that's what matters.
And your final thoughts about it, pretty much.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
so sign up for that. We hope to get a lot of people joining up for
yes,
that.
hopefully so. And because we got good working relationships with a lot of the publishers. So, yeah, as like I was doing interviews with Wizard I interviewed the marketing manager of Dungeons and Dragons at Gen Con last year, and we've got good relations with other game companies as well. So, yeah, and it's led to some other interesting things I can't talk about too.
Yeah, we know.
So, but yeah.
Okay. Cool. Nick,
Yes, sir.
what have you been doing?
Far as gaming situation, not much this week. Trying to pin down another date for our monthly game session going into Castle Greyhawk. So schedules seem to be conflicting with many people. So it's been difficult just getting everybody together, you know.
Yeah.
But now hopefully we'll get something probably later on this month. The one thing I have been watching is since the announcement of the reprints of the 3 core rule books, I've been watching on various forums and blogs the amount of buzz that has generated, and it's been incredibly positive. And I think the people that are going to buy it, there's going to be quite a few. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be buying copies, and I know I'm going to be one of those folks. So I'm really looking forward to seeing those coming out, and I'm glad that Wizards is embracing the old school the folks as it were. So that's what's been going on this week. So
All right, cool. I tried to play in a game Saturday night, but no one really showed up. So
man,
yeah, I was all ready to go, and only like 2 people showed up. And they're like, "Oh, we can't play tonight," and they had their reasons, which was cool. But
Yeah, it was like I was wanting to play in Lass's game yesterday afternoon, but at 12:30 my internet went down. Yeah, so I'm like, I'll spare everyone the joys of Skype over 3G.
But that was the same thing. I mean, that's the usual excuse. The dog ate my homework. Now the internet goes out.
Yep.
I couldn't make it. I was at half-price bookstores. We didn't know if we was going to go or not, but at the last minute we decided to go ahead and go. And I hated to miss that game. I really like to hear her run the game. That'd have been great.
well, she said there was a game designer with her there as well. So
Yeah, I read that. I thought that would have been really awesome. I really, really am sad that I missed that because I really would have had a great time, enjoying playing with some of y'all.
what are you gonna do, right? It's life. I know a few people from the Saturday Night group have convinced me to do an actual play podcast again for D&D, so I might be starting up another one. Hopefully, you guys are invited.
Oh, goody.
Oh, yes, get ready.
I'll see if I could get into that. That would be okay. I haven't done any online gaming over like Skype or something like that. I've yet to try it out. So,
Oh, good. We'll get you involved, Nick.
yeah, it'll be something new. I'm willing to try that out.
Get your ears wet at least.
Yeah.
Get my ears wet? What if I get water in my ear and I can't hear? And
So, Nick,
yes, sir.
stars.
Stars, yes. Stars this week over on iTunes. And
Stars,
just to reiterate for everyone, you can find us on iTunes. Just type Roll for Initiative at the iTunes store in the search section. And then you can pull us up and you can give us a review, or you can contact us at rfistaff@gmail.com. So we have one review this week, and it's from Celestian.
Oh,
and it's a 3-star review, and it says "Missing Jason" with a question mark. It says, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I miss Jason. This new guy, DM Will, is like listening to a boring history lecture. is a strong contrast to the chemistry that Vince/Nick and even Matt have. It's like he picks up a book and reads from it, and you immediately want to fall asleep. Fortunately, Vince, Nick, Matt keep things interesting, but please find someone else to fill Jason's old seat. Okay.
I just have to laugh because no, I don't read from no book. So, and I will gladly do this podcast from a video cam. That'd be, that's awesome.
Well, thanks for your feedback, Celestian. We do appreciate it. Will, a rebuttal, response?
No, but I ain't got no response for it. My name is DM Will. I'm not DM Jason, so that's what you're gonna have to live with. That's it.
Well said. Well said. So, yeah, that's the only review, and we are up to 97 reviews.
100.
We're almost at 100. So we'll bake a cake, and I don't know when we get to 100. So yep. Thanks for all of our reviews, and like I said, we read every single one when we can, and that'll do it for our stars review.
Hey, you know what though? He still could have gave you 5 stars and still say I don't like DM Will instead of punish everyone for me.
That's true. But hey.
What are you going to do? People miss Jason. I'm sorry he left. That was his own decision. He's not coming back.
This was Jason's decision. He had way too much stuff on his plate, and
the show wasn't fun for him anymore. So.
Right. It became too much of a chore for him, and he bowed out gracefully, and we rather have that than have him get frustrated and angry and just quit completely on us. So
exactly. So blah 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 blah. Let's head into Sage Advice.
Master, they're at the gates again. Master, it looks like another band of adventurers.
Adventurers again? Always the same. Coming to me for sage advice.
Sage Advice, brought to you by Nick. No, I'm kidding.
Sage advice. Hey, we got some sage advice.
I just got, as we were starting the show, I just got an email, and it's from Jaco. And he said, "Hi, guys." And that's it. No, I'm kidding.
Hi.
He says, "I'm new and an instant fan of the podcast. Just a quick note and a question in regards to last week's talk about the re-release of the core rulebooks." Well, probably 2 weeks ago at this point. When I heard the news that WotC was releasing it, I jumped on the chance to finally get into AD&D. Awesome. I've been playing a lot of the editions that shall not be named.
Sweet, cool.
And have always wanted to play AD&D. Good. I pre-ordered the books from my local gaming shop, the 20-sided store in Brooklyn. Cheap plug. And
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug, yeah. And through that, I've been drumming up a lot of interest in the shop with people that play 4th edition. So yes, I can actively confirm that these re-releases are sparking interest in later edition gamers! Exclamation point, exclamation point. I want to DM, but the task seems daunting. Can you guys recommend any resources for the PCs or the DM who is starting from an absolute ground zero? No one's grandfathering me into a group, so I need to figure out how to compile everything I need. I guess, shameful to say, I'm looking for something akin to AD&D for dummies. Thanks, keep up the great work. And I know one of those listeners that has never played the edition but can't stop listening. Jaco.
Huh. Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
awesome question.
Good question. Don't know where to go.
Oh, no.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think...
Christopher, get out of here.
Yes, damn you. You keep interrupting us. He needs to get to the chopper. But anyways.
Chopper.
Get down.
You better stop.
Yes.
All right, so who wants to take this one?
Well, I think first off is if you've ran any other game, a lot of those same skill sets will apply to first.
Yep.
Running a good game goes past the mechanics of the system.
Yeah.
Being a good storyteller, having interesting characters, and just being able to work everyone in the group into what you're running, that is system agnostic. So anything that's just that aspect of it. Don't get hung up on the mechanics. That's one of the beauties of first edition. it's not that mechanically heavy.
No.
It's more about you telling your story. So just focus on the storytelling.
It is. That's a very good point. The AD&D, as far as the AD&D game mechanic is concerned, it's not only is it very loose, but it's quite modular. You can take things out or you can put things in. That's one of the beauties, I think, of the game mechanic in itself. So, don't get hung up on the game mechanic. It's very easy, but yeah, I could agree with you anymore, Matt. I mean, you just if you got those fundamentals already from good storytelling, good NPC interactions, and good planning. Any good DM got to plan very well. Read through your adventure, know what you need, know your players, what they want, and how they act, and that's half the battle right there.
Isn't there a module that introduces the game to new players at DM and players?
Yes, there's quite a few out there. Oh, as a matter of fact, I'm trying to think right now for first edition. Yes, there is.
I know. I remember.
I just did a. I think. Oh, was that basic? I'm sorry. That might
Most
be
of them are
basic.
for basic.
It's easily modified. If you're talking Keep of the Borderlands,
Mm-hmm.
module B2 is easily modified for first edition AD&D, and I would highly recommend using that one as a starting adventure.
Stu will review one.
You know what? It was either B10. King's Harvest is a great one. And I'll be honest with you, B3 Palace of the Silver Princess I prefer over that of B2 because at the very beginning portion of that area, the DM is reading the description to the players, and then he goes, "What are you going to do now? Do you want to do this or do you want to do that?" And that's only for the first 2-3 rooms, and then from there on, the player should have a pretty good idea or notion of what they need to do yet. I think the what's his name? Jocko,
yeah.
He's on the right track because one, he likes the game. That's the big thing right there. He likes the game. He likes the product.
And your enthusiasm will come through when you
there
DM
you
it.
go. Exactly. And just be natural with it. Don't, shoot from the hip or any of that crazy stuff. But go with the simple modules first, like B3 Palace of the Silver Princess. I recommend that because there's that question and answer thing there so that, he can tell the players, what do you want to do now? Do you want to search for secret doors? Or do you want to go through room A? Or do you want to pull that lever down first? That's only for the first 3 couple rooms. Yeah, try that.
In fact, I think that one is a free download from WotC's website still.
Yes.
I can find the link and we can put it in the show notes. And far as module B2, if you want to use that one as well, I'm a huge fan of that one. I'm sure you can find, if you don't have it already, there's copies everywhere.
Yeah.
You can much get them for dirt cheap.
And
So at Half Price Books, that and X1 or X2 was also on the shelf for $3. So
you know what?
Wow,
both of those would be
awesome.
great. Yeah, Isle of Dread, awesome.
But I'd like to point out, if you really want to get into it, a perfect jumping point off for learning is get the Menser Red Box set.
Mhm.
There you go.
Yeah.
Prime example, because there is a beginner dungeon in there already for you. I can only agree with you and everything. But one other point I need to mention, since we brought up on rule mechanics and everything, use the KISS rule. KISS. That means keep it simple, stupid.
All right, so Jocko, just keep with you the book on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Just run your adventure how you want to run it. And you don't have to worry, but don't worry about weapon versus armor class stuff and configuring that in. Just have your tables for 2 hit and your saving throws, and that's really all you need.
Yeah, and also one thing he'll have to get used to is versus other versions is there's there's no real skill sets for the different classes unless they're specifically put for those classes, like for thieves.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not listed, have them role play it, wing it.
Yeah, role play it out, or if you
it's
think
your call.
or if you think it needs a check, just make it an ability check. Okay, compare it against your dex. Roll me a d20. I mean,
and
simple.
just be consistent with that
Right.
afterwards.
Yeah, just figure out what makes sense to you and stick with it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's the beauty of this game. There's a framework. There's not rigid words.
I love it, warts and all.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, next one comes from Angel Doctor from the OSRgaming.org forums. He's saying, I am considering using material from the Unearthed Arcana, in particular illusionist cantrips. My question is, how many cantrips may be prepared for, and cast each day for a first level illusionist or magic user? I assume 4, but then does that mean the illusionist may not cast any more spells for the day from her limited set of first level spells?
That's correct.
That is correct. According to the rules, you could trade in your first level spell for 4 cantrips.
And if you're first level, you only get 1 illusionist spell for that day. And if you want to cast 4 cantrips, well, guess what? You can't cast that first level spell.
Right. It's a either or. Now, that doesn't mean you can't house rule.
Yeah.
For me, one of the house rules I've done in my campaign, as far as cantrips are concerned, anybody who plays a magic user illusionist is allowed X number of cantrips equal to half their intelligence score rounded up, and that doesn't account against their number of regular spells per day. Because cantrips are not necessarily that powerful, so that's one of the house rules I use. It's worked out pretty well.
I've used the house rule of just allowing them to have the 4 on top of what they had for first level because they're just cantrips.
Yeah, they're you said they're just cantrips. There's no
was
it tie?
But they're so weak as it is.
Yeah, tie and clean.
Yeah.
Well, if you
isn't
needed
there one called bug or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, if you needed domestic housework done.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, last one comes from DM Chris. I've just started up a new campaign, and we're about 5 sessions in, deep underground, a great mountain, and the main plot has involved them discovering that people have been disappearing from the underground city, and they've tracked it into a Dugar group?
Dugar
group, who are hewing out a keep deep in the mountain. They have gained a group of henchmen and are about to assault the fortress. My question to you guys is, how do you make a medium to large scale assault siege interesting and present puzzles to make the characters really think, rather than draw their swords and just run in? Thanks for the awesome cast. Keep it up.
Ooh, good question.
And that's an easy one to do. If you own the module UK3, the Gauntlet, my recommendation is get that module. Vince, you should know about UK3. Remember when the characters are going to that abandoned keep?
Yeah.
And then the keep is assaulted by the fire giant and its allies?
Yeah.
Follow that whole format right there, and there you have a ready-made keep, now just converted to underground with all its dimensions and everything, and there you have a ready-made scenario on how to use a keep.
Or you can grab the Mentor Blacks box set, which also has siege rules in it too.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the master box set, in case anyone's wondering.
I like the Gauntlet version because the fire giant, I believe he has two platoons of hobgoblins, and he's got a couple flying allies, and he's got a couple of this and that and so on, and some spellcasters. Actually, it's a pretty cool thing with that keep. I was really impressed that when I saw this question, I said, "Oh, I like this." The first thing that came to my mind was the Gauntlet UK3.
And as far as making it interesting, it's hard to make a siege assault interesting. It's just too big, large scale to make it interesting.
Right. Honestly. I mean, you could make it like, okay, they have this battery of siege weapons that's pounding the advancing forces. So, okay, you need to figure out a way to maybe take out the siege weapons while dodging the arrow volleys. And I mean, you can make it rather action filled if you give them give them something specific to accomplish as opposed to the generic take over.
Right. You give them a piece of the battle to worry about, so instead of over the whole large scale thing, and that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that was the whole point of UK3. The whole purpose of that was not to defeat that fire giant and its minions, that he gave the player characters a certain time period to produce it. I don't want to let too much out on the module in case someone's playing it. But, and if the players took too long, the fire giant would say, okay, this group of people attack those guys to show them, that I mean serious business or what have you. And then, he's still got a couple more people in that small little army of his. So now the puzzle portion, that's kind of confusing to me because I don't know how you're going to put a puzzle issue into the siege unless he's talking about exploring underground and, they're having issues with traps and all that other stuff.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of thinking too. Some traps issues.
Yeah, I mean, when I was thinking puzzle, just more of, okay, they have this. If they had decent reconnaissance on like the walls, the arms inside, the forces, then the puzzle becomes how to best approach this to accomplish whatever we're trying to do. So it is just more of the operational tactics as opposed to the actual individual platoon level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Use miniatures for that.
Yes.
Use miniatures. I think that would make it a much more playable and fun scenario.
Right. And don't get hung up on distances either when using the miniatures. Just use them for rough representations. Don't start measuring out everything. Then you went into war game territory.
Okay. Thank you. Sage advice. You can call us 570-865-4210, the hotline, or rfistaff@gmail.com, and we'll answer your questions. Thank you for your emails. And let's head into table manners. We'll get your encyclopedia to start reading from.
Oh, do you want me to speak like William Shatner, or do you want to speak like Ben Stein, have a monotonous voice, or whatever?
We'll be right back.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, a fella knew how to judge a fireball on the fly and how far the cleric could push the undead he turned. I tell ya, with all these min-maxers and munchkins, metagame and power game, there's something missing that I'm here to learn ya. Now sit down and crack your book while I commence to teach you some.
Table manners.
Okay, on today's Table Manners, we are going to talk about Kender. I believe this is going to be a Dragonlance podcast and everything. So we're going to have fun talking about Kender.
Yeah.
So what are Kender? It's kind of funny because when I was looking at the questions and everything else, I said I could not really tell people what Kender are. And so I started online.
I could tell you what they are.
You throw it in the fire, don't you?
They're halflings.
Oh.
Well, yeah, we could say they're halflings, but guess what? As I was reading on the history of Kender, it sounds to me like, and as I was looking on I looked on Wikipedia first, but I like looking on there, I guess that Kender are more related to gnomes. Mm-hmm. Did you all catch that part?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was very interesting, but the history on Kender and how they came around I found it extremely convoluted. I mean, when you read on the history of when it started, I think they were first published in 1984. And then it went on to Dragonlance, and then it came into some Dragon magazine articles. Now, I'm going to cover the articles real quick, because there was some issues here. Roger Moore, who had part in making the Kender, or fleshing them out a little bit, did an article in Dragon magazine number 85. So that was an error on the Wikipedia page. They put down number 84, but in Dragon magazine number 85, he did an article called A Stone's Throw Away, which is not really even an article. It's basically a story? I believe that's what it is. He did a story, like of a book, a chapter out of a book, talking about, Kender or Tasselhoff Burfoot from Dragonlance fame. From there, I went to Dragon Magazine 101, and I think the title was All About Kender. So as I was reading that article, I just realized that I am reading almost verbatim what was in the Dragonlance book, the Dragonlance Adventures, was what I was reading. So either way, go to one of those articles and then you might learn something about Kender. Let's say you made a comment concerning halflings versus Kender, or Kender a halfling. Well, not exactly. Let me tell you the differences between the two races. Let's start with that first. When you are playing Dragonlance, you want to play a Kender, or if you want to play halflings in a regular first edition first edition, it's all first edition. Halflings have a -1 strength and they have a +1 dex as their racial ability. Kender get a -1 strength, but they get a +2 to dexterity. So it seems like they're more dexterous, which is kind of weird now because when you talk about Kender, the first thing that comes to mind is they're thieves. That was not what their original intention was.
Annoying thieves.
Yeah, but see, the main intention was he did Tracy and Margaret did not want Kender to be a race of thieves. So did you read that in that article on Wikipedia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was very interesting there. So they get a +2 dex. Vice, a +1 for halflings. Halflings have no minimum for race. So if anyone wants to play halfling, they can play halfling regardless of their scores. However, Kender have a min-max. They need a minimum and they have a maximum, which is kind of weird because now if you go through, if they could be fighters and what levels and everything, then we talk about a whole different thing. So Kender can have an 18 strength, which is, I don't understand the logic, in how they did these stats and everything, but they can have an 18 strength if they went to fighter. But if they're playing a non-fighter, I believe their max is 16. Yep. So when you see the game stats for the Kender on page 53 of the Dragonlance Adventures, just pay attention to the asterisks. Now, halflings can be fighters, fighter thieves, or thieves. If you use the UA, the Unearthed Arcana, they can be clerics and druids. And Kender, on the other hand, can be barbarians. They can be rangers, and they can be thief acrobats, on top of being a fighter, cleric, and druid. Again, they can't be thieves. Did y'all catch that part? They can't be. Well, I'm going to take that back. They can be thieves, unlimited if you use the UA. I'm looking at different things here, but they can be thieves, but thief acrobats. The halflings are so different. They can't be thief acrobats. They can't be barbarians. They can't be rangers. Halflings have no thief class or no thieving skills per se if they were just like any other class. Let's say if they were a fighter, they have no thieving skills. Kender, on the other hand, have thieving skills even though they're not a thief class, so they automatically have thieving skills. Infravision. Halflings can have up to 30 to 60 feet depending on what kind of halfling they are. Kender can only have 30-foot range infravision. Special abilities. Halflings have no special abilities. They only have their racial abilities versus magic and so on, depending on what the constitution bonus is. I don't consider that a special ability. On Kender's side, they have, a few special abilities. One, having that Kender pockets, where they can pull something out of their pockets, and there's a little chart there we have to roll randomly, see what they pull out, whether it's useful or useless or whatever. They have the Kender taunt. They have the ability to taunt, targets, get them all mad and everything and enrage them. And they also have a special ability called fearlessness. So, it's a special ability. It's a racial ability if you play Kender. I guess they're not halflings. You see where I'm coming from on that. So those are what are the major differences that I see in Kender and halflings, by the book rules on the first edition PHB and the Dragonlance Adventures book. Did y'all find anything else different?
No.
I still don't like them.
Well,
I don't. I'm sorry. I don't. I think Kender are buffed, annoying halflings.
And that's the player's fault. It's like the lawful stupid paladin.
That's why there was a great Kender purge in my game universe.
Personally, I just want to run Tomb of Horrors with a party of Kenders.
Oh, God, I would kill you.
Most people play those Kenders as annoying, hyper.
It's like playing a 10-year-old with ADD.
And that's funny how you all say that, because originally they were the original concept for Kender. And it's funny because I think they wanted to call them Kinder. That's how they would have spelled it, Kinder.
Yeah.
But they changed that to Kender because they didn't like that Kinder, the way it sounded. That makes sense. But originally, I think the original concept was that they were going to be savage warrior children, ever curious but alert. Mm-hmm. But then I guess, and then Jeff Grubb got involved. It's surprising the whole cast of old school authors and so on that got involved into creating the Kender in the form that it is today and everything. So, they're described as small-boned, and they rarely grow over 4 feet tall, which I think that sounds like halflings anyway. What's the tallest halflings can be? I didn't even look on if they can see how tall they can be, but I've never seen a 5-foot gnome. A 5-foot, halfling, so. But I mean, besides that, I mean, that is the major change. The history of the Kender is very convoluted. A lot of people had say in it. It started out that they were, that annoying, very curious, humanoid race that get themselves in trouble. But like you said, if you play them like that, get ready for some stupidity to happen. But I'm not a fan of Kender. I mean, like you, I think, Matt, you're not a fan of Dragonlance?
I enjoyed the novels. As for playing in it, I can
Not
take
so
or
much.
leave it.
Neither am I. I just, I've read through some of the books. I think they're good. But as far as playing in the world, as long as you don't use the modules, I think you're fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I have no problem with Dragonlance. It's not my campaign of choice. It's a very specialized campaign setting.
Yeah.
I think I told Vince before that I ran, Dragonlance when it first came out, and I ran module to module as they were being released. And I like the modules. Yeah, they're railroad, choo-choo. We all know that stuff. Whatever. Still, though, I thought they were, well written. It had a great story setting. And then, of course, it's going to follow the books. It was the same thing with Dark Sun when it came out with that stuff after the death of King Kalek, and so on. I mean, it's a good setting. It's a good setting. I prefer to play Minotaurs, to be honest with you. I'd rather play them. But I don't think I could honestly play a Kender. Kenders suffer from this, I don't know if it's like a mental illness, but they call it wanderlust. Did you all read that?
No, it's a mental illness. I agree wholeheartedly. They're insane little people. They must be stopped.
Well, unlike Dark Sun, the halflings in there, or whatever you want to call them, they're carnivorous. They're cannibals. So, I'll take Kender over those bad boys any day. But they're natural extroverts, so they're not your typical gamer mentality. They like to go out. They like to explore. They're very curious. They're very sensitive. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But, I guess I see what they're saying.
You can hurt their feelings.
You can hurt their feelings and they'll cry. Wow, I'll carry a violin on purpose.
And that's where they get annoying. Every time I know someone who played a Kender, it's like when you catch them, quote unquote, taking something, when they're handling something and you catch them, they get all weepy eyed and like, I was just looking at it. Oh, shut up. You're stealing it.
Yeah.
You know what? I know it. Stop lying.
Well, what is so funny about it is, though, I mean, they're sensitive to being, insulted, and they'll start crying and weeping and all this other mess. But they're masters of taunting. Therefore, their sarcasm and outright rudeness, comes out, when they're riled up. So that's kind of funny how they have that Jekyll and Hyde, mentality.
They can dish it out, but they can't take it.
Pretty much.
Bunch of sissies.
That's right.
Oh, no, I'll tell you, I don't know why y'all are sticking me with all these short people things. But, I mean, that's basically what it is, though. Say again?
Short people ain't got no reason to live.
Well, I happen to be a person that played in a lot of Dragonlance, and my group focused on Dragonlance for quite a while. We even played the Saga edition of Dragonlance when it came out with the cards. So we like Dragonlance. I just think Kenders are really annoying, and I'm with Nick. They should be destroyed.
They're the Gungan of the AD&D world.
Yes.
Like I said, the great Kender purge of my game universe.
Like I said in the beginning, what do they use? What are Kenders? The things you throw in a fire. That's Kindle.
Oh, Lord, I'll tell you something. That is just too funny. But, when you look at halflings and Kenders, and, I'm just talking about the physical appearance, but I'm still talking about the differences between the two. They describe Kender as being, wizened, and they appear that the faces are about 40 years of age. I don't think halflings have that kind of face. They have that youthful, cherubic kind of face, I believe they do.
Yeah, very round and plush.
Yeah.
Oh, but I did see one interesting thing on the history of them, that Kender, they wear shoes, unlike halflings who like to walk around barefooted. Or bare feet, actually. Say again?
Whoopee.
Well, what can I say and everything?
Well, when it comes to using caltrops, makes a difference.
Yeah,
I don't care. I'd throw caltrops at Kender, okay?
Okay, cool. So we're gonna have Will do how to play a dwarf to keep with the small people. No, kidding.
Oh no, I have no problem with that because I love playing dwarves, especially dwarven clerics. I have no problem with that. But like I said, Dragonlance is its own setting. They wanted, and that's again another thing that came up in the design of the Kender was when they originally did use halflings, but I think what the issue was with the halflings when they first started out, in that when Dragonlance was coming to be, that the halfling that was used, I forgot who it was that was using it. It was a halfling, and he had a ring of invisibility. So when they was play testing this thing, they said, like, you know what? This sounds like another story, and we all know what story we're going to go to on that.
Yeah.
So I said,
I have no idea.
Oh, you have no idea? Well, I'm not going to tell you.
No clue.
So when I read that, I said, it's so funny how it all starts out like that. And so that's why Kender, it started to be a very convoluted process. They said, let's make it like this. It just changed.
It's funny that you brought that because you're talking about the whole Kender race and how they're presented in Dragonlance and all their abilities and stuff. And I'm like, wow, those actually really sound like Tolkien hobbits. They really do.
Merry and Pippin.
They do.
Merry and Pippin are Kenders. That explains so much.
Are. I mean, and which is sad for me because I like the Lord of the Rings and I hate Kender. So what does that mean? My head's going to explode.
That means you'll have to start killing Merry and Pippin?
No, I like Merry and Pippin.
I was wondering why they didn't get killed much sooner in the movies. Not that they actually ever did die, but I'm just like, I found them so annoying.
Oh, well, there comes Kender in there somehow.
Yeah.
But one
they
thing
taunted me.
They taunted him. I can't stand those Kender. Anyway, as you were saying, the Dragonlance books, you always talking about the books and the novels, and I'm trying to figure out if they were actually talking about gaming books, where they have 3 conflicting accounts of how Kender actually created. And one of those accounts stated that that Kender descended from gnomes. So I don't know if that's an insult to gnomes or if that's an insult to Kender. But I don't think they're gnomes in Dragonlance. I'm sorry. They have those tinker gnomes. We already spoke about those things.
Yeah, we already talked about them too. Yeah.
There was no love for those bad boys, I tell you.
Well, there's also gully dwarfs too for small, annoying.
Yeah.
Oh, gully dwarves. What a shame.
What is with Dragonlance and small, annoying demi-humans? What's the deal?
Who knows?
Margaret, clue us in. Tracy, come on.
But as you read more into the history, you're going to find that the dwarves have a lot of say in the matter because I think they're trying to separate. There might have been some talking about how dwarves might be related to Kender, but dwarves kind of twisted around and said, no, they're more related to gnomes. They're more related to gnomes than they are dwarves. So
no one wants to claim them.
Well, dwarves have their own problem. They need to deal with their gully dwarf kin and everything. They don't need to deal with Kender as another part of their
gully
problem.
Dwarves are like the hobo dwarves.
Yeah.
They can't count to 3 or 4 or something.
1, 2, many. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're killing me on those gully dwarves. But no, so that's what Kender are, all in a nutshell, and you probably could fit a couple in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So that's short, they're small little people.
Crush the nutshell while they're in it.
But as far as being related to halflings, I think they made great lengths to separate halflings from Kender and made them their own race with their own, racial, special abilities or what have you. So with
and yet
that
they're still halflings.
Yeah, they're still halflings. Yeah.
Sorry,
and they wear shoes. So that's what my take is from looking at Kender, reading up on them, and what I remember from memory.
Okay. Cool.
And I know that all of y'all want them dead and exterminated. Kender side.
Don't exist in my game universe, so.
Well, I'm looking forward to see what other people feel about Kender because I hope it's not as harsh as y'all's.
I'm sure there are some people out there saying, I love them. They're my favorite race to play. And I'm like, well, good for you. You're the one person I do not like. No.
One thing I can't stand is when I start a new game with some people that I haven't played with in a while and they play halflings like Kenders.
Yeah, that happens. That's true.
I tell you. Yeah. That's like say, play the lawful good paladin. I detect evil on everybody in the town, and I slay them if they're evil.
Ooh, lawful good paladin with a bunch of Kenders.
Why am I all of souls, suddenly picturing Catholic school nun with a bunch of 5-year-old kids?
I'm envisioning wacky sitcom.
Oh, you're all starting to turn off Dragonlance to me. Let's stop it while we have the chance.
Okay.
All right.
No, Dragonlance is good to go. I'm good to go. I still like Tracy. You're good to go, my friend.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's head into game mechanics.
Oh man, what the heck is that?
Stand aside, you fool! I have a spell that will work here!
What do you mean I can't hit with that? Oh, right, fine. Show it to me in the book.
Welcome to Game Mechanics.
All right, folks, here's DM Nick here, and with game mechanics this week, going with our Dragonlance theme yet again.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to talk about the law of consequence, and that's out of page 9 of the Dragonlance Adventures book. And I found this part actually very interesting.
Yeah.
It's not even half a page, but I think what you have here speaks volumes about, Kryn, how it is, and the universe that it is in. So let me just kind of go through the law of consequence real quick. It's basically the philosophy of being in Kryn in a Dragonlance setting. You have 4 different rules. Excuse me. 1, good redeems its own, or otherwise known as the law of Paladine, who's the god, lawful good god in Dragonlance. Basically means that if you do good deeds, you'll get repaid in return. Number 2 is evil feeds upon itself, meaning also known as the law of the Dark Queen. That means evil's belief in natural selection through elimination of weaker beings. Chaotic evil objective in the universe is the supremacy of might without any moral considerations whatsoever. Lawful evil being more strict in following like a very Darwinian kind of view of the world. The 3rd rule is both good and evil must exist in contrast. You probably saw that one coming. It's kind of like the law of neutrality, the law of Gillian, or the doctrine of shadow. So there basically means the universe should remain in balance. And neutral objective is unity in diversity. And the 4th rule is the law of consequence. The final law was given by the High God himself to rule over all other laws. For every law and rule that is obeyed, there is a reward and blessing. For every law transgressed, there is a punishment. And these blessings and punishments might not come immediately, but they do occur eventually. So, and there's this little gray box here under all this where it says a proper Dragonlance game bases its campaign and its morals around these principles, promoting the power of truth over injustice, good over evil, and granting good consequences for good acts and bad consequences for evil acts. Now, with that being said,
Never used those before.
I think within the Dragonlance setting, this works great.
Yeah.
Because it's very epic in scale. It is a epic fantasy setting. I've always, in my opinion, considered Kryn and Dragonlance an analog of Lord of the Rings, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
It's very... it has that particular flavor.
Right. It has that very much the world is falling apart, evil could easily triumph. At the same time, there's this small beacon of hope, and that hope is never lost no matter how bleak.
Right. It's very, very epic in scale. Exactly. And I think this law of consequence helps play into that. If your characters do, or a character does something good, your character will be rewarded in kind. If you do something bad, you're probably going to do something bad. Now, I think it's kind of conflictory, because if you're playing evil characters, if you do something evil, I would think that means you're promoting evil, and that is a good thing for you, quote unquote, good thing for you, Yeah. So,
but typically by doing more evil, you're also harming other evil because of the natural selection thing, because you're stronger
because
than.
of rule number 2.
So
evil,
in turn, you're actually furthering the side of good by being evil because you're killing off the evil.
And hence it gets all crazy.
Yes.
So it can be a little confusing because we're talking about, deep moral, philosophical views in this particular type of game world. If that is your type of flavor of a campaign that you want to do, that is really great. That's fantastic. Because for me as a DM, I like to be a little bit more, I guess, play a little bit more loose. It doesn't mean I don't follow alignments or follow those sorts of things in my campaign world, but with Kryn, it's like it seems that it's a cornerstone of that type of campaign setting. Now, would this work outside of Dragonlance using this philosophy, these 4 laws? Yeah, it can. If you want to pattern your game world after that, I think it could work. It also depends on if your players would be up to doing something like that. So I wouldn't force this sort of thing upon my players without giving them undue notice.
Well, here's the notice is here's what it is, and too bad, my game.
Yeah, I would what do you guys think of this idea? What do you think of this concept, for the next campaign? What if we do this? If everybody agrees, yeah, we'll do it. If not, then we won't do it. So I think it's a very interesting part of the Dragonlance setting. I found this, like I said, not even half a page, but I think it really sums up the idea of the whole the Dragonlance setting and how it is. And you can port it into other areas, but by doing that, it's going to elevate. I don't know if you want to call it elevate, but it'll put it in the high epic campaign, very Tolkien-esque kind of campaign setting. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Vince?
I've never, all the games we've played, we've never used the law of consequence at all.
Yeah, it seemed to be very hard to implement, maybe, or
it's too hard to keep track of. Much like the tracker on the back of the book for
Yeah, I remember that. We talked about that last time, that tracker thing. That could be kind of oh, great, more paperwork we got to follow.
It's too much for... I'm a DM that doesn't like a lot of paperwork, so a DM like me would not like to use these things. But maybe someone like Will, who's more used to being more on the top of things, would probably like doing that.
Well, I mean, the law of consequence is great for this campaign setting, but I think the key thing was in that gray portion area that you read there.
Yeah.
And I think what this is doing, I think this is impressing upon the DM to the players that, guess what? This is not an evil campaign setting. This is a campaign, you need to be good or neutral.
Right.
I think that's what this whole gray portion thing is talking about, because if you play evil, it looks like it's not going to last long, but if you play good and neutral, it looks like you're gonna live a lot more longer.
Right.
So I think this is pressing upon the DM and to the players that, guess what? When you play Dragonlance, this is more for players that want to play good aligned characters or neutral.
Right. I mean, it's not going to go well for the more selfish, self-centered characters in Dragonlance. The land is too harsh. It's too dangerous to have that me-first mentality at the expense of everything else, and it just shows in the setting. So it's really not for... You couldn't even really do like an anti-hero or anything like that, I think, successfully, because you would end up having yourself killed just due to the laws of consequences and just how treacherous the world really is. It's basically falling apart, and if you have that, I'm going to survive and double-cross everyone in my path because of it, just looking out for my own self-interest, it's going to come and bite you in the butt because you're going to need help. How many times in the novels were they dependent upon the kindness of others just to get by?
Quite a bit.
Exactly. If it wasn't for the help of the barmaid and the barkeep and the home of the leaves of the last inn, as I draw a blank on the name.
I'm glad we're actually doing this, because this is a great contrast to what we did the last time when we were talking about doing a Hyborian campaign in AD&D. I think this is a great opposite of that. In a Hyborian campaign, if I could make some comparisons, you can pretty much. Well, thank you. If you could pretty much keep it very loosey goosey, kind of. You can wing it more or less. As far as what the motivations are of characters. In fact, we even said alignments be damned, because they don't really pertain in that sort of game world if you're going to have a Hyborian setting. Now we have Dragonlance. Total opposite. Alignments mean practically everything. And the law of consequence is a golden, shining example of that, where if you're going to do something good, you will be repaid sooner or later in good. If you're going to do evil, sooner or later, it's going to come back to you. So, and in that way, I think some players might feel like they're really shoehorned into something like that. Some people might not feel comfortable with that. I don't know. It depends on what you're in the mood for. So, but I think they're really good contrasts.
And you can easily make a campaign in Dragonlance. You don't have to follow with the main characters along with it.
Oh no, of course not. In fact, it's probably more preferred that way, I would think.
I totally agree. Either you do it before or you do it after, the thing with Dragonlance occurred. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's the sad part about this. I think this book came out, quite a bit after the modules came out, I believe. I can't remember.
The book was published.
Yeah, and see, none of this stuff we really had when we ran the Dragonlance campaign modules, and very minimal activity with Dragonlance after I ran the Dragonlance modules as they were DL 16 or 17, wherever it stopped at. That's it. Then I stopped. I didn't do anything else after that.
So I would think, I know and like we were talking about the alignment issue between the two. There are people out there, and I've talked with them. There are people who, even in their regular D&D campaigns, they don't pay attention to alignment at all. I've read on forums where there are people that hate the alignment system. So this would not be something to your liking, especially when you're talking about the law of consequence, where alignment and your actions will result in some sort of recourse.
I like the alignment system for the simple fact that it's a guideline for a character to play, because I'm sick of playing a game when someone's going wildly nuts, being evil, and all of a sudden, next thing, oh, here's a little kid on the side of the street. Here's $1 million because I love you.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I use alignment. One, I play by the book anyway, but I really truly believe in the alignment system. It's the staple of. No, I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying this. The alignment is the staple of this of D&D as a whole. Dragonlance just puts a spin on it, and you know what? Y'all already said it's part of this world, and that's what makes this campaign setting unique.
Right, and there are some people who like that. They like the moral consequences that you have to deal with if you stray away from your character's alignments, like we talked about the last time with that chart. And this also feeds into that law of consequence. If you do something bad or good, depending on your alignment, something's going to come back on you. So, and there are some players who like that. They like that moral and ethical quandaries that come up. And this is kind of an aid for the DM to follow, I guess. So
I like it.
It's interesting. I think it's a very interesting look at the Dragonlance setting, where I think this is a real core part of that. So I guess if we've all talked about it here, we'll hear back from people out there and roll for initiative land, and you can let us know what you think of the law of consequence. Would you use this in your own game world? So, or not. So I guess after that, we will move on to Vince and Creature Feature Theater.
That is not dead which can eternal life, and with strange eons even death may die. I welcome the unwary to the Creature Feature Theater.
The creature featured in this week, I have a monster from the book here called the Thanoi. Maybe I'm not pronouncing that right, the Thanoi. But anyway, they are walrus men. And they're kind of weird because they're a mix between human and walruses. They have these padded feet, stocky arms with fingers capable of holding weapons. One thing that I think that's interesting about it, they're a vicious race. And they're very aggressive. And they'll stop at nothing to torment and torture other creatures. So this is one of my favorite monsters.
Wait a minute.
Yes?
Hold on a second. Hold the phone. It's like that walrus in the cantina in Star Wars.
Yep.
The walrus guy.
They're kind of clumsy looking, but don't let them, it really will surprise you because they have the ability to just like whip out this weapon and do 2 more points of damage than usual, no matter what weapon they use. So, and forget about the leader of this group of these walrus things is hit dice more aggressive than the rest of them. And one of the weaknesses I noticed was fire-based attacks, whether magical or not, but they suffer extra point of damage per die every time you attack them with that. But if they're in a cold climate, they're just fine creatures that you can't stop them. They're dangerous.
They do suffer extra damage from heat and fire-based attacks. Okay.
Yeah, they're a 4 hit dice creature.
And they lose 1 hit die per week when they're exposed to above freezing climates, too. So you're not going to see them adventuring.
So how did one end up in Mos Eisley Cantina on a desert planet? Tell me that one.
I don't know.
He must have been hurt.
Yeah. He was near to death.
Because they have a thick, rough, leathery type skin, they have and layers of fat. They have an armor class of 4 naturally. So you better watch out.
Wow. Actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so they're pretty dopey looking creature, but you make fun of them.
They're going to put the smackdown on you.
Yeah, they will. My question is, though, these, it seems kind of funny, but I swear that something similar to this in one of the monstrous compendiums from Mystra, I just don't know. I'm telling you, these things are so familiar.
Are you thinking of the GIF?
You know what? That's probably from Spelljammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the hippos.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
they're like
those
the
are
hippo men.
Oh, okay, there he goes. Well, they're both huge monsters. I mean, huge, whatever they are. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, when you're reading the description, I'm thinking, it's like the walrus do the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I can think of these walrus men as pirates on the sea as you're traveling around, and they're like their ship starts attacking your ship, and you're like, "What the heck?" And then you see giant walruses like jumping off the side of the ship, coming and attacking the side of your ship, climbing on board and breaking it apart, and like just trying to kill you.
I picture them like in Viking longships.
Yeah,
But
about them is that they won't kill you; they'll grab you and drag you onto their ship and just torture you and torment you. Because that's what it says they do.
Yeah.
Well, they are lawful evil alignments, so yeah, that figured. Yeah. And when I'm thinking about this, I also realized they're also in World of Warcraft. They are.
But is there a Pokemon version of these?
Yeah, there is actually.
What?
You have to ask Vince.
There is, Nick. There is.
Inconceivable.
I can't think of the name, but I know I can picture the creature in my mind now.
Oh God, there's nothing sacred.
Big eyes, small mouth. That encompasses everything in fantasy.
Oh boy.
I love that game, Big Eyes, Small Mouth.
Anywho, you know what? I would actually port these into my regular campaign. These seem like a pretty cool critter.
Yeah, put these with working with those shark men type people. And the hippo people, and you can have your own little nation in the water there.
Yeah.
I mean, this would be a really cool creature to use if you're in an Arctic campaign setting. I mean, this would be perfect because when you're talking like a Arctic tundra type setting, or at least part of your game world where it might be Arctic or tundra, what have you, there's not a whole lot of monsters to fill in that type of environment. There are a few that we could probably think of on top of our head, Yeti and Yeti.
The Tear
Tear.
that we talked about.
The white pudding.
The white pudding.
Yeti.
What the heck is that other thing? The Remore has, which is really, really nasty.
No, I
But
don't like
you know,
those.
there's
Frost
just
giants.
handful.
Snow.
Okay,
snow-
Frost
oh,
giant.
snow.
Okay. Beyond that, not much.
Any monster you can think of, just add the word snow in front of it or ice in front of it.
Snow troll.
Okay, fine.
Snow fire troll?
Snow trolls. Okay.
Ice dragon.
All right. Yeah, we got white dragons. Already got that. Anywho,
Not this dragon.
Thanoi would be a good addition to that. So really surprise your player characters. I think that'd be very cool.
How can you surprise them? It's a fantasy game. It's supposed to be there.
Now if they don't know they don't exist.
It's heroic fantasy.
Huzzah!
As opposed to science fiction fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh no! Don't start that.
Pew.
Anyway, let's head into a Dragon Sword now.
As the secret portal yields to your efforts, you stand amazed at a vision from the most fevered dreams of avarice. Before you lies the Dragon's Horde.
And now we're in the Dragon's Horde, and this time, roar! For Dragonlance. So it'll be a quite the horde with a much more mobile item than the Minion of a couple episodes ago. For this is a scroll that doesn't require 20 people to carry.
Yay!
Yes. The Scroll of the Stellar Path. Because in Dragonlance, the power of magic is directly related to the 3 moons. And each alignment, good, evil, and neutral, has their own moon. And depending on where that moon is in relationship to the other ones, you get different bonuses to your saving throws and your spellcasting ability. And what this scroll does, when used, it actually gives you the most advantageous position of your moon. So if we go to page 20, the scroll's on page 91, but if we go to page 27 is where it actually talks about the effects of the moons in Dragonlance. And depending on what...
this is
where you need your astrological chart. If you have Spelljammer, it comes with that nice giant map of outer space, and you could easily start plotting the moon phases. But depending on if it's in high sanction, waning, waxing, or low sanction, it affects what you get. High sanction is the best. If your moon is in high sanction, which is what this scroll would cause, you get +1 to your saving throws, +2 additional spells, and your effective level goes up 1. Only a wizard, though, of 6th level or higher, with an intelligence of 15, gains the benefit of that, though. Then it starts getting a little wacky because you also need to figure out where the other moons are, too. Because if you have... There's the solstice, there is the Nunitari, and the Lunitari. And the Solentari are the 3 moons. Solentari is for the white robes.
Yeah.
Nunitari is for your neutrals, and Lunitari is for your evil. And if the Solentari is in line with the Lunitari, you get an additional +1 saving throw, +1 additional spell, +1 effective level. If Nunitari is in line with the Lunitari, same thing. If the Solentari is in line with the Nunitari, it's +1 saving throw with no additional spells, and the effective level is the same. But then if all 3 moons are in line, it's +2 saving throw. Yes, pretty much, because you get +1 to your level, +2 to your saving throws, and +2 additional spells. Yes, I hope you like astronomy to actually make use of this, because you need to plot your moons.
Well, what you could do is every day before your campaign you play, you can go to the Dragonlance website, DL Nexus, and they have what the forecast is for Dragonlance, and they have the moon forecast.
Shut up, really?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
No, I was just going to say before that, wow, that's a lot of work for the DM, but hey, the website does it for me. Yay!
But think of,
Corinne, what the weather is that day.
wow.
Oh,
But For the poor
Wow.
DMs that had that scroll in their campaign when this book first came out, however, I pity them.
Yeah, because it was 1987. Would we have Commodore 64s and
Well,
trash
if you
80s?
gophernet it to an app,
Yeah.
it's an interesting scroll. I see why it exists in the Dragonlance world, but oh my god,
Yeah.
the paperwork involved, and once you use the scroll, it's gone. Poof. It's one shot. You use it. You get the benefits for 48 hours. But that's a lot of bookkeeping. But I guess if you're playing Dragonlance, that kind of comes with it because the moons and their positions do play an integral part in the story. But I just can't see translating that to another setting, though. So
You could, but who would want to?
Well, when I see this here, this is very interesting because this gave me some ideas. Because I don't know if you all are familiar with the movie The Dark Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In order for a wizard to try and even get a spell like this, I would think they would need to visit a place like what was that thing's name? Agra, who had that funny machine that had all the moons and things spinning around. In order to make a spell, they would have to have something like that. This is where I can see this, in placed here in the Dragonlance thing. This isn't something that you can, buy at a magic store or, whatever. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. I like this.
Yeah, I like the concept. It's just the execution can be a little clunky without the Dragonlance website.
Just knowing all the stuff that you have to do to be a wizard, I would not want to play a wizard in Dragonlance. It just sounds like too much work.
Not to mention they're also all hunted down and tried to be, and pretty much.
Well, yeah, if you're not part of the 3 schools of magic.
Right.
Well, they have witches of Teledados. I can't pronounce it. I've never been able to. Where's the
Witches of what? Tacos? What?
Witches of Teledados, which is if you wanted to play a wizard that is not in one of the orders of high sorcery.
Right.
It's a custom class that the website made up, so you can use.
Okay.
But it's interesting.
Yes, it's definitely interesting, but I just really question the utility outside of Dragonlance unless you want to really rework the conditions at which it's effective.
I could, like, for Greyhawk, you have one moon.
Right. I almost had visions of that planet from Pitch Black with the 2 suns, and when they both came into perfect alignment with the moon, it went dark, and then all the bat things that just eat everything appear. That was the first thing that popped into my mind.
Well.
Yeah, see, I thought of, Dark Crystal because I think it was 3 moons or whatever the hell it had.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that's what came to my mind was Dark Crystal.
So if anyone out there has any other ideas on how to actually use this in the non-Dragonlance setting, let us know. And have it not be some giant mathematically clunky chart-based thing. Something that...
Right.
Yeah, that's the trick.
I think this is a good way of torturing your players.
Yes. Make them chart the moons.
Yeah, that would be the magic user's problem.
Yeah.
So there we have it. Tell us how you want to do it, or if I staff at gmail.com, or you can call us and, head to the out. Well, I guess that's going to wrap up the show for this week, guys.
All right, Kinder must be destroyed.
Throw them in the fire.
I'm sorry.
Well, we could have our sci-fi fantasy game where the Kenders meet the Gungans.
That would be a sci-fi fantasy game. Yeah.
Drop you, my friend.
Oh, and if anyone out there is really good at building websites, give us an email. I need to speak to someone about jazzing up a website. Or if I staff at gmail.com.
I do like those walrus guys. I think they're very cool.
Yes. Yeah, those are definitely interesting.
There's another look at Dragonlance yet again. We'll probably come back again in the future and look at Dragonlance yet again.
Yeah.
So hopefully with Tracy, because I tried to get him to go on, but it's Sunday, and
yeah,
we'll record the show, and it's not very good for him on Sundays. So
yeah,
when we did it on Tuesday, he was all ready to come on the show, but because of Nick, we had to go back to Sunday.
Hey.
So we replaced Tracy Hickman with Nick.
Hey, I think it's a good trade.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I checked.
What else you gonna get? Great, conversation.
At least you don't read from a book like Nick Bill does.
I will slut and I will come in.
Actually, when I read from books and everything, I do have a lot of inflection, in my voice. I love reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good though.
Well, we're gonna keep it original, keep it old school, and put the book down for this week. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, have a good night.
Roll for initiative.